Gentlemen, I'd like to welcome all of you here this afternoon to the Missouri Angus Association presentation on how to prepare for a consignment sale and also how to prepare for a production sale. I'm sure it'll all tie together and do that. We have a very qualified panel here this afternoon, and so I'd like to introduce each of them. We've got Cash Langford, Reed Gooden, Jennifer Russell, and Teela Sadowsky. And for those of you that don't know, all of the four of these folks have all been past Herdsman of the Year here at the Missouri Angus Association. And of course, the Herdsman of the Year, I think a lot of people just think of that award as an award that goes into show cattle, but I think here in the Missouri Angus Association, it goes into so much more than just show cattle. It goes into the sale acts of preparing for a sale. It goes into the herdsmanship at home of preparing those cattle, and also just how they take care of their cattle day in and day out. And I think this panel is very, very qualified for discussing this. So I think without any further ado, we'll just get right into this and let these guys share some of their knowledge with you. It is also good that we're going to record all of this, so this will be able to be up on the Missouri Angus Association's website here soon, and Sierra Rydell's doing that for us. So with that, I'll just ask a few questions of you guys and let you all get into this discussion, and then I'll do my best to stay out of your way. But as we get into this, what is the single most important thing that you all feel you can do to prepare for a sale? Is there one thing extra you can do to your cattle, and what would that be? Start with Teela.
There's not any one thing. It's a combination of a lot of things. First of all, you got to know what your target is and what your market is, and who's going to be there to buy whatever you're going to offer. So you want your offering to meet those expectations. Then, you said single, right? That's single.
One of the things that I think is really important is we need a history and the paperwork on these cattle. Whether it's your knowledge or whether it's the record keeping of it. And that's something that as small producers I see gets overlooked a lot. We have got to have the record keeping and the basis of facts behind these cattle to back them up. And that's something that can be dealt with and easily fixed, if not, as well as the physical, getting the cattle ready and being the part for it.
Yeah, getting your records is one of the biggest things. Is you'll have a lot of questions on histories of cows and the history of progeny, and getting all that ready really helps you, especially if you're trying to sell production animals or performance bulls. Doing all that can really help project that and sell them cattle.
Well, in my opinion, the single most important thing when getting ready for sales, have a plan. Figure out your target base of what you're going to try to market and sell your cattle to, whether it be performance cattle, or find out what them people are going to want. If they're going to want low birth weight cattle, you need to be breeding for low birth weight cattle. If you're going to want high marbling cattle, you need to be breeding for high marbling cattle. Or if you're going to raise show cattle, you need to be breeding them things for show cattle. So I guess for me, the most important single thing is to have a plan, know your customer basis and which way to go.
When hearing all of those things, that it kind of does make sense. Cash touches on preparing, it sounds like a couple years in advance for that sale, not just, the 6 or 8 or 10 weeks prior. And Jennifer touches on the record keeping as well. And I think all of those things in going around and selling these sales is extremely important. So as we move on down our list here, we've got a few questions and statements here. List in order the sale preparations that you feel are the most important. And I know we just kind of touched on these, but Jennifer, you've prepared for a lot of sales over the years, multiple sales per year at times. So what would be like a starting point? Where would you start in preparation for a sale?
Well, I think we go back a lot to what Cash was talking about. It's more than just 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time. Still putting the catalogs together for meats and stuff and whatnot, being there for multiple years, we were thinking about the October sale the October before. And that's just how your thinking has to be. When that sale is over, you're thinking about next year's sale already, about what to do, what we can do to improve. My thing is, I think you need to look for improvements and strive to improve each sale. whether it's the cattle that you offer, or whether it's the management of it, or the record keeping of it. Every sale, just try to do a little better at some area. What can we improve on? And before long, you're always going to have room for improvement. I've never been part of a perfect sale, and I probably never will. But you just look every year what I can do better to make this a success. And ultimately, it lies with you. It's not your auctioneer, it's not your salesman, it's not your manager. It's the person that it's your responsibility to make your sale, whether you're in a consignment sale or your own sale, the best it can be. And as long as you're striving for that, you'll find ways to improve it.
I couldn't agree more. Teela, you have, your program's probably consigned to the Missouri Angus Futurity of all of us that are sitting up here longer than any of us. I still remember back when you all sold rapscallion many, many years ago. And how, in preparing for, let's just take the Missouri Angus Futurity, for example, what are the steps that you all are taking at Osage Grass and Livestock to prepare for that?
We look at the consignment auctions, consignment sales, a group of people coming together. For us, for Jim and I, we look at it as actually a way to put our program in front of people. It's a form of advertising for us because we're a 100-head cow outfit and our advertising dollars don't go very far. So we look at it as a way just to get our program out there in front of people. So when we put something in a consignment auction, we want it to be pretty good representation of what we do, and then we also want it to be successful for the new owner. So with that being said, you jump through all the hoops you have to have a very well broke animal, if it's a halter animal, or meeting the requirements. If it's a bull, just following along with what are the requirements of whatever it is you choose to put in the sale. But from our perspective, it's representing our program. And I think that's really important to look at in these consignment auctions, is that it's like a field day for you. You're going out there and you're representing your program. And then there's buyers out there that it's like going to the Macy's clothing store. Different people have different things on the rack, but somebody's going to buy something that pertains to their likes. And so that's kind of how we look at it. We're getting an opportunity to put our program out there.
Oaks, I noticed that you guys consign to multiple different consignment sales, not just the Futurity and not just selling cattle in your 2 sales a year, but you guys are dealing with multiple breeds. But if you go through and you watch advertising, you look at sale catalogs, Valley Oaks has made it a priority to put cattle in so many different sales. How do you prepare for that, having to do so many different auctions and still wanting to sell the best quality you can?
Yeah, so we always it's 3 years out, it seems like, especially like bulls. If we sell any bulls, what we're breeding today, we're not selling for 2 years from now. So always planning for the future is what we try to do, and we try to treat the whole herd as that, whether it's a Futurity sale, East Central sale, that we kind of have a list to start out the year of what potentially be able to sell, and we just try to find the best timing and the best age to sell them at. Whether it's a bred heifer or a pair, and try to match them up with whatever sales kind of coming up to get them there and get them most prepared, because getting the most presentation out of them is the best thing, and not all of them are going to be the same presentation that day that you have a sale, so you kind of can stage that out by entering most of them sales.
That's wonderful. And Cash, as you and I have talked a lot, and Cash comes from a little different background than some of us, but prior to coming to Missouri, you prepared cattle for a lot of different sales, whether that be bull sales in Denver or expos or things like that. In looking back and kind of touching on some of that, what were some of the steps that you would take to make sure those cattle were ready? And maybe a little more involved in that, how did you guys select those animals to go in those different sales?
Well, Clint, to answer your question there, usually I like to start out and go through them calves when they're about 2 to 3 months old, and kind of get a list put together down on paper, and stay through them cattle, every day, and see how they're coming and changing. About 3 months old, I'd like to take that, whether it be a group of bulls or a group of show heifers, and put them into a contemporary group of them all together, and get them started on a good creep feed ration. As many of you know, in the show cattle industry, cattle that are a little further along in their condition, not fat, but just a little further along, they seem to sell better. So I like to get all them cattle together and get them started on a good creep ration. Then just get them broke. You know, that goes a long ways nowadays, just having good, gentle, calm cattle to take to these shows and consignment sales. Get them broke good and clipped good and presented just as good as we can. I think that goes a long ways.
Wonderful, wonderful. You know, Cash, I'm going to stay right here with you on this next question, and this is something you and I talk a lot about. The question is that it is said that a bad picture is better than no picture. What's your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree on that. I see it so many times. You go to flipping through the catalogs and there's a picture of something in there, and it's the pedigree reads good, the EPDs read like they should, and then you get to the picture and you're like, there's no way this thing can look like that. And you still got your eye on her and she still has your attention. And then you go to the sale and you look at her and you're like, whoa, this thing is actually way better than that picture, which a lot of people that maybe didn't go to that sale would just go ahead and discount that animal because she took a below average picture for the catalog, whereas going to the sale and actually see her in person, she's way better. So yes, I do agree that a low quality picture is worse than not having a picture.
I 100% agree. Teela, would you agree with that?
Yes, and there again, planning goes into that. And when Cash talked about having them broke, it doesn't necessarily mean, even if you are not selling a halter heifer, have those cattle where they're easy to be around. And if you have them broke, you can go at a consignment auction. You're usually moving from pen to pen, or you're doing things with them at this consignment auctions before you present them. So having them broke is advantageous to you, whether they're a halter heifer or not. Also, the picture thing, it's hard sometimes, guys. Let's be honest, to get those good pictures. It really is. And timing in the year, like just take the Futurity sale, for example. For people in the northern part of the state where we are, a lot of times we're taking pictures in snow, because if it's young cattle, they're not far enough advanced to take those pictures in the fall. You're not going to get a good look in the catalog. Fall babies, Michael and Julie do fall babies in the Futurity sale when we had it here. It's really hard to get a good picture of them fall babies in January to make the February catalog or whatever. So it's tough, but you can kind of plan around that. Maybe take some pictures of those fall babies on the cow when they're in that really cute stage and put that in the catalog, or use support pictures of maybe a grandmother or a sire or something like that. The other thing is with the fall baby picture, back to that, if you take those fall babies on the cow when they are really looking good and really showing themselves on the side of that cow, then come back in with your video before the sale, and now the people have gotten two looks at that animal. What they look like structurally as a baby, or in that fun 2 months, whatever, for 3 months, like Cash said, and then they get to see them as they mature. But to try to take that picture in January for a February catalog, it's about impossible to get a good look on a fall.
It's extremely hard. We've had a lot of experience with that. That's one of the tougher ones. Well, as we move on here, I think I'm going to direct this towards Reed and Jennifer and let you guys talk about this. How important is DNA testing sale animals, and why? Either one of you.
I think that's all part of knowing your customer base. It depends on your customer base. I can argue both sides of the coin for that one. I believe in the DNA testing, and I do it. I like the genomic enhanced EPDs. I like the parentage. That's the biggest part for me, is I want to know what these cattle are out of. I think it's very important, regardless of whether you believe it has too much emphasis or not. I'm not sure on that, but I think it's important. I think the phenotypic data is important as well, and that may not be a popular opinion, but I think we need performance data on these cattle so we can back it up and the DNA can continue to get more and more accurate. I'm a very scientific mind. I believe in science, but we've got to have facts to back up this science as well too. So we've all got to do our parts and do the phenotypic performance data, your birth weights, your weaning weights, your yearling weights, your scrotal measurements. I even like ultrasound. I still want to see it. If you can get carcass data, I'm all for that too. Any data that you can get, I'm a data hog. And I think that helps when you're talking to people, because what we're trying to do as sellers is to take the gamble out of our customers' buying power. We don't want them to gamble. We want them to be successful. The more data we have and the more consistency we have, it seems like you take more of that gamble out for your producer. You're never going to get all of it out, but take as much out of it as you can. And DNA is a piece of the pie, in my opinion.
Yeah, that kind of piggyback off that. Just give all the tools to your buyers as you can. DNAing, giving them the performance numbers, whether they want to use them or not. There's no point in hindering their selection opportunities. They can look at them and take them for what they're worth. If they don't like them, that's up to them. But giving them all the tools they can have to select their cattle is, I think, the best thing you can do, whether or not if it's what you believe in or not. Having it for them gives them the opportunity to decide whether or not this is what they want to look at. They can look at physical deals or even your actual weaning weights and stuff, but giving it to them is a great option, and that's only going to help you further your customer base because they can see different ways of looking at the cattle that way.
I think those are two wonderful answers. I'm going to add one in here for each of you. Let's say that you decide that you don't want to 50K your calves, but do you think it's important, maybe you don't want to 50K them because you think it'll hurt their APDs or something of that nature. Do you think it's important in selling cattle in a consignment sale to have them parentage verified? Each of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think in today's world, we have the ability to know what parents are. I mean, I honestly think that you should. I wish it was more, user friendly. I mean, it's going to get easier with time. I mean, I know I'm a cattle woman too. I know running these cattle through the chute. I know what it takes to do all of this work. Trust me, it's worth it to your customer. They want to know who these cattle are out of. They want to know the parents of them at the very least. And I'll argue, on the other data, I know it's work. No one ever says cattle farming was going to be easy, right? I mean, none of us are in this to make loads of money in an easy way. I'm sorry if I disappoint somebody here that thought that.
Very much so. It just kind of, it's source verified. You're selling a product, you want to stand behind it, and being able to do the parentage on it is very important because you can stand behind what you got there. And be able to sell that product.
Cash?
Yes, absolutely. The parentage verified. With today's, so many cattle are getting going through the ET program, whether it be IVF or conventional. And I've been on the wrong end of it myself. I mean, I'm guilty. I've put an egg in one cow, and I dang sure thought it was a different egg, and I tagged that cow with a certain bull and a certain cow, and come back and kind of bite me in the rear because it not being what I thought it was, just on a simple mistake on my part. So yes, having them cattle parent verified is a great thing, I believe.
I think you and I did that last fall together, actually.
Teela,
what's your opinion?
Just to add something on that on cash, it can happen if you have enough young cattle in a pasture. Mothers are going to claim somebody else's calf and you not ever know it. I could be out there 24/7 and I've missed it, and I've watched calving cows closer than anybody. It happens. So, and it's an honest mistake, but let's take care of every mistake that we can.
Yeah, as the DNA thing evolved here on parentage, we've had we've even seen some wrecks where a switch like that was made on maybe a nationally used sire, and then it wreaks a lot of havoc throughout the breed because you got to go back now and it changes everything. And so if we have the technology there to DNA parentage, I think it's very important that we do. And like Jennifer said, those cows will calve together in a pile, and you don't really know which one belonged to which one, so you need to DNA them. Also, we have a customer that buys bulls from us, but he also AIs cows, and he ordered up a bull, and there was a bull in another breed with the same cane code or the same name on the cane, and that's what got delivered to him. And he had 20-some cows that he had bred to a club calf sire. And so DNA testing is important, because what if he wouldn't have caught that? You know, I mean, he would know when the colors come out, but let's say it wasn't a colored animal, it was just 2 Angus bulls that got, you know, their canes got switched, or the cane codes were, or 2 black animals, I guess I should say, and the cane codes got switched. Now you're going to get this black calf, and you're going to go, you don't know what it is, and so it's important. I think we need to utilize it.
I think I would 100% agree with that. Well, Teela, right back to you here. Everyone has different criteria when choosing animals to purchase. How important are the production records and the EPDs when choosing animals to consign?
To consign?
To consign.
Our programs, we're a little different in our program in the fact that we use a lot of our own bulls, and a lot of you do too. So sometimes it's hard to come into a consignment sale with, you think you have to have these big numbers to be competitive with everybody else, but really you need to be breed average, because everybody else is breed average. So if you're breed average or better, then hey, you know what, you're okay. But it's this mindset, our human nature thinks we have to be bigger and better, bigger and better. And that's not necessarily true. If there's certain traits that we're working for, maybe the next guy isn't, but if we go to the consignment sale and somebody sees we're working for those traits, that might be the same traits they're looking for. It also, with us using a lot of our own bulls to 50K them, we won't always get that accuracy or the numbers that someone else might get, because we don't maybe have those bulls, we don't have enough back in the pedigrees on those bulls to give us a base for the 50K. So sometimes the 50K isn't in our best interest, but what we do provide then is this cow has had 10 calves, ratio in 104, and her mother did the same thing, or there's 4 Pathfinders in her pedigree, or here's a calf that has a 80-pound weaning weight EPD, but he also weaned off at 700 pounds or 600 pounds, you know, versus a 400-pound weaning weight that's still got a big weaning EPD. So providing them with the actual information, our customers at home and our customers at sales, they want the actual stuff. Then they can compare it with what our EPDs say, and it gives us a basis. Maybe if we are breed average on our numbers, it still gives us a basis and something for them to select from.
I think that's a wonderful answer. You know, Reed, as I mentioned a while ago, you guys sell in a lot of consignment sales. How do you guys use your production records and your EPDs when choosing those animals?
Yeah, so we try to look through, kind of maybe find some outliers just for some few sales, like, you know, Futurity stuff, because our actual female sale we have, we kind of sell not run of the mill, but what our herd looks like and represents. But depending on the deal, we'll find our outliers in our herd, whether it's through gene seeking them, or if it's through us looking at their actual data, whether be ultrasound. We do ultrasound no matter, even if we DNA them, we still ultrasound. We do weaning weights, yearling weights, and all that. So kind of just going through all the data, trying to find better ratio ones, but trying to keep the phenotype to them is our biggest goal too. The paper isn't everything to us, and you got to kind of have a medium lukewarm between the two of them, and we try to best fit them to each sale and what kind of groups are going to be at those sales. Some sales are a little more show driven, some are a little more performance driven, and some are just your commercial guys. So trying to know your customer base is the biggest deciding factor there too.
Consignment sale, you're looking to put your cattle in and selecting those certain animals for that. I think that's a great point. Well, as we move along, when working with a consignment group, should you try and present all of the animals the same way, as in body score, hair prep, maybe use the same photographer, same guy to video them all, or should you work as yourself and do the best that you can to make your animals stand out from the crowd? And Cash, I'm going to let you answer that, and then we're going to expand on that a little bit.
Okay, well, in my opinion, when you're putting cattle into a large consignment sale, such as one like we're going to have here this afternoon, I think it's just so extremely hard to have the same photographer, the same videographer, and have all them cattle presented the same way. I think it is a good idea to have them videoed and pictures in the catalog, but I think just having one specific person try to cover cattle that's selling today in the state would just be no way possible to get it done.
So would you say, as in preparing cattle for a sale, do you think it's important to do the best that you can to have yours stand out from the crowd?
Yes, I think that 100%. Anything I can do to make mine look a little extra to the buyer, I think that'll help them bring more dollars.
I 100% agree. And Jennifer, I know as you guys have had cattle here at the Futurity and other sales over the years, what's something that you guys would do to try to make what you were bringing here to stand out?
Well, there's a lot of things. A lot of we go back to the cow history. You know what that bull or heifer come from. As far as the looks of the animal, I want structurally sound. You know, maybe we're not the show cattle type, but I want my customer to be happy, so I'm going to be driving what I'm bringing and how I'm preparing them towards that customer. You know, if I know the cow family and I know the great granddam and I know where this comes from and what all that, you know, my customer service is what's valuable to me. I'm selling relationships. I'm not just selling cattle. Everybody sells cattle. What you get and what makes people stand out is you're selling a relationship where that person, that customer feels like if they've got a problem at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, they can call you and you're going to give them the honest truth, right, wrong, or indifferent. This is what it is. And that, to me, is as important as how we get our cattle to look for the consumer. Yes, they need to be fed well. Fat cells. I don't like it any better than the rest of you guys like it. Fat cells. An old guy told me once when I was young and married, he said, you can either be right or you can be happy. And there's a lot to that. Fat cells. Don't bring a bunch of thin cattle and then be mad at everybody else because they're selling higher because they're in better condition. I can't change how things are, you know, and as an industry itself. So have your cattle in the right condition. Have them looking the part. Have them acting the part. I would say how they act is as important as how they look. Because Doc Long doesn't want to put up with the bull that's going to take him. I mean, he's just not. Neither am I. I can't outrun. I couldn't outrun when I was 18. So I'm still on that. Does that answer it?
I think that's a great answer. I think that's a great answer. So Teela, as we're talking through this subject here, in preparing for this sale, let's just use the Futurity for example. When you have cattle or embryos or pregnancies or flushes, whatever we're selling, are you contacting former customers and encouraging them to come and look at your animals or try to purchase some, or are you just saying, well, they're in the catalog and here we go?
No, I think you have to do your homework, and it's not, if you're consigning to a consignment auction, you need to be able to bring some bids with you, because that helps get your cattle off the ground. And if there's nobody I'll back up a minute. You need to bring some bids with you if the people can't be at the sale, but also an auction is two people bidding against each other, so you have to hope that there's somebody in the crowd going to bid against the bid that you brought. So you're trying to sell an animal for what you feel is a price that you can afford to part with that animal. So you've brought one of your best, because that's what you want to put out there. You want it to be able to bring what you need it to bring to leave your farm. And so if it's in your best interest to bring some bids or bring some buyers. And everybody says, well, if that buyer goes and buys somebody else's, well, you know what, that might happen, but you're working as a group for the good of a consignment sale. And if we don't work together in these consignment sales, they're not successful. I've been involved in several of them over the years, and if you're not working together, they're not successful. And we're really not in competition with each other. There again, back to what I said earlier, we're presenting our programs. Each of us are presenting our program, and the buyers then are at the discretion as to what they purchase. But it is helpful to bring your own money.
When encouraging buyers to come to a consignment sale, if you have cattle in that sale, are we encouraging them just to buy our cattle, or are we encouraging them to look at all the cattle in the sale? What's your opinion, Reed?
Yeah, we're just social media is a big presence these days, and it's the easiest way to market, the cheapest way to market, and we try our best to try to be on social media as much as we can, and just posting our own lots, but also putting a link to the catalog, to the videos for the sale, the update sheet, the sale order, because if that consignment cannot keep on going, you don't have a market for your cattle. So if your neighbor can't sell his cattle, you can't sell your cattle also if you're piggybacking off each other to try to sell. So you're trying to sell this whole sale as a whole while trying to sell your cattle also.
I 100% agree. Go ahead.
On that note, it's like Teela said, you got to have two bidders. We've all sold cattle where there's only been one bid and it went cheap. So you got to have two bidders. So if I'm working really hard to sell my cattle and calling my customers to sell my cattle that I've got in there, I'm hoping to bring more money with me than what they're going to spend on my cattle. So maybe Joe Smith is a customer of mine, but he couldn't afford the bull he wanted from me. So he's also looking at the other, well, he's got to have a bull, so he's gonna look, or maybe he shows up to the sale. We've got to get butts in the sale ring. Because if he goes to the sale and he originally was thinking about just my animals, but then he comes and Teela's got this bull that he's just fell in love with, more power to him. So the more people that you can bring to a consignment sale, yes, you're going to emphasize your own animals. We're all going to emphasize our own animals. But the more people that I bring to the sale, the more it helps everybody else. And that's kind of how I look at it. I'm maybe not going to call my customer and say, hey, Teela's got this bull selling in the same sale as me, and he's damn good with it. I'm probably not going to do that. But if he shows up to the sale and he sees Teela's bull there, and he's like, and he comes over and he may just tell me, hey, Jen, because my customers are as honest with me as I am with them. And he'll tell me, I like that bull better. And I'm like, okay, well, they're a good program. So that's how I kind of approach it. Maybe I'm not individually a bull out saying, well, you need to look at this bull, but get people to these sales. And you'll be surprised, you've got to have butts in the bleachers. I don't know how much I can emphasize that. You've got to have people there. We need butts in the bleachers. Every successful sale, the crowd, there will be a big crowd there.
Oh, I 100% agree. Cash, we here at Hunter Angus, we have a couple sales a year, but you've been involved in multiple sales over the years and in multiple breeds. What would one piece of advice you could give folks that are selling cattle in a sale, whether it be their production sale or whether it be coming here to the Futurity, the East Central, the Heart of the Ozarks, Howard County, one of those sales? What's some advice that you would give in trying to encourage them to bring their customers?
The one piece of advice I'd offer is have what the people want. Have good-footed cattle that are going to milk, good udders, good disposition. I think that's very, very important to just have what the people want.
I 100% agree, and I might piggyback a little on some of what everybody has said on this subject, and going around and selling these sales. I think it's very important for you all as the consigners to be contacting your customers. Brock and I have this conversation all the time about how can we improve his program, how can we do things. I can call all of Brock's customers. They don't care to hear from Clint the auctioneer at all. But if Brock calls them, it means something. If Jennifer calls them, it means something. Teela, Reed, Cash, it means something. As an auctioneer, they're just like, well, he's just there to get them sold and get his check and go home. They don't know whether I know cattle good or not because they only see me once or twice a year. But as owners of those cattle, the more people you all contact and encourage to come to those sales, they might buy yours and they might buy someone else's. But in doing that, all you've done is, one, you've increased the value of your cattle, but you've helped increase the value of everybody else's. So I think that's probably one of the best points to what you all have made about encouraging folks to come to these sales that could be made. Well, as we get ready to wrap things up, I'll give each of you just a moment or two just to reflect on kind of what we've talked about and here in getting ready for a consignment sale. Just go ahead. Yep.
See if there's any questions.
Yeah. Do you all have any questions that you'd like to ask these guys? Not me. These guys are the experts. Chad Sampson, I know you will.
What feeding changes would you make to sale animals compared to regular animals, replacements you're going to keep on the farm?
What feeding changes would you make to cattle that are going in a sale compared to the cattle that you're going to be keeping on the farm as replacements? Who wants to take that?
I will. Everybody's at a different stage of development, but when we're putting these cattle out in front of people at a consignment auction, it becomes a fashion show. I mean, they got to look the part. Whether it's the bull, whether it's the bred cow, whatever, they got to look the part. And so it's going to mean a little extra condition over what you'd have maybe at home. So you're going to pick up that energy a little bit. You're going to pick up that fill a little bit, just so that you've got them looking the part, because we're human. We just like to see pretty, you know. And so, with that being said, you just try to present the animals to the best of your ability. And I might expound on that a little bit. There's many of us out here. I've worked both sides of consignment sales. I've worked on the getting cattle ready for consignments for other people. I've sold our own cattle. If you can't get that animal ready, if you can't get it clipped, some of these consignment sales, maybe we need to look at having a person there a few days ahead of time to help get people's cattle ready that they can't do it themselves, or have some person that's going to go farm to farm. For the ones that request, we need help. We have a really good bull, but we need help. Maybe as in the consignment auctions, we need to put that person out there going farm to farm, helping these people get their animal ready, or giving them some pointers, that sort of thing. Because I'm going to be honest, the consignment sale, it's fickle, and we've taken a big hit in consignment sales. One of the reasons for that is we have to bring good stock. We just have to bring good stock, because you burn them commercial guys once, you're not going to burn them again. And we have to have good stock at these sales. Now, each and every one of us think that we bring what is our best, but if we don't have, if it's not where they can see that they're the best, then we've done a disservice to ourselves. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And as those of us organizing consignment sales, let's try to find a way to help the people that maybe can't get their cattle ready. Even if it's having a shoot there, not a way sale, we had a shoot there, and if people brought in stuff that wasn't clipped, we clipped them. You know, just heads of, it helped kind of make them more presentable. So.
Oh, that's a great point. That's a great point. Yes, sir, Mark.
So I got two questions. Talking about your photos. The last two cows I've purchased for 5 figures, they're blacker than the ace of spades in their pictures and their videos. But 4 months, 3 months after you get them home, the old long brown hair comes out. So how come we can alter our pictures and our videos to sell them, but we can't paint feet and bellies and tails at a show? I mean, and my second question is, on bull guarantees, how far do you take that guarantee to keep a customer?
The first one is a loaded question, because I'm old school and I love paint. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
You can offer them to sell them.
As far as a relate, this is where it gets back to me saying, I want to sell a relationship. Okay, I don't want that's why I take my own photos now. I do my own videos. I don't want a doctored photo, because I'm never going to stay in business for the long term if I sell one $50,000 cow. Anybody who's been in business long term is going to tell you, they pay their bills with that $45,000 to $5,000 bull. That's what pays their bills. And you've got to sell those over multiple years. If you screw somebody for a $50,000 cow, you're probably not going to be in this business long anyway. So that's how I feel about it. If you talk to me, I'm not saying we don't use a little spray paint when we're covering dirt or whatnot on the pictures. Because I do want to put out there a good picture. I want a good picture that's representative of what we're trying to do. I'm going to clean the mud balls off of them. And sometimes when you clean that off, you scrape it off. Now, I don't believe in editing the photos or making the cow not what she is. And it's, but it's about a relationship. And that customer's going to call me and say, hey, is this cow really worth this? Okay, yes. As far as the brown hair, that I can go back and forth on. But I wish we did not have professional photographers editing these videos to make these cattle what they are not. I wish we could get rid of that. I hope they can someday. because we needed to be truthful with these cows. We want them to look their best, but we need to be truthful too. But if I've sold a relationship to you, you know to trust me, that cow is represented what she is. And that's where I get into the whole relationship thing rather than just selling.
Yeah, but on the bull part of it, like for the last 2 weeks being laid up, I really don't know how many bulls have catalogs. These guarantees are getting out there like a $50,000 truck, but how far do you take that guarantee till enough's enough?
Okay, I think that's a great question. We've got a couple folks up here. Teela, you all sell a lot of bulls, and you sell a lot of bulls privately. I've had the opportunity to go through those bulls before. What are some practices that you do as far as the guarantee of those bulls?
Our bulls are priced at a very fair price to the market, and what we tell our guys is, as the price of cattle have come up, bull prices have come up, but if you're spending $4,000 on a bull, buy some insurance. I mean, getting through his first year, but I can't afford to do that, or I'm going to have to raise the price to where you're going to say, well, that's not affordable. So you have to take some of the responsibility yourself for your bulls. We bed our bulls all winter. We used to sell our bulls. Our bulls would be delivered in January and December, and that was scary because it was before they were semen checked, because we have March and April bulls. So that was kind of scary. But so we printed if under proper management. You know, if they freeze, then that wasn't proper management. We can't stand behind that. But what we do is like what Jennifer's saying. We're building a relationship. So we kind of, each one's an individual. And if we have pure neglect, then we're going to say, you know what? We can't replace the bull. We don't have enough bulls to replace your bull. But here, we'll help you out next year. Or we'll give you a little bit of money back. Or we'll try to do something. Nobody wants to give money back. But we'll try to help them out some way. But if it's a pure neglect thing, or they're just saying, well, that bull didn't do very good because, you know, he bred 20 cows, but 3 were open. Okay, it's all on the bull. I mean, and so you kind of have to weigh through some of that with your customers, but the bottom line is that you want them to be happy, and if you explain, a lot of people are reasonable. If you just explain to them your situation, but we don't have pens of bulls to replace bulls with, so our bulls go out with no guarantees. Just they're semen checked, they're ready to go breed cows, they're in good shape, they're athletic, and everything like that. But the guarantees are you're gonna have to insure them, and it's on you. And if you have a problem, please let us know, and we'll try to help you out.
And there at Valley Oaks, as far as your guarantees go on those bulls?
Yeah, it's kind of an individual basis. Just, you know, you'll know the customers and that, but we guarantee them the first season as best as we can. Now, there might be some incidents where we can't replace the bull right up front, but we will give sale credit for the next year and try to send them to another Angus producer to try to fill their needs at the moment, because the accidents happen on everybody's farms. We all know that. We've all had an animal freakishly die or freakishly get hurt, and we try to work the best with everybody to fix that. Now, after we do guarantee them for almost a year, but that second season also depends on, like they said, condition, how they take care of them, if they neglected them, or if they kept the same protocols up for that second season. So it's kind of a case by case when we get that far out.
I think those are great points. I'm just going to expand on Mark's question just real quick, and we'll just go down the line. It's pretty simple. In a consignment sale, like we've been talking about, should there be a guarantee on all the bulls that's the same for every bull in the sale, or should it be left up to the breeder that's consigning the bull? Whoever wants to start.
Well, I guess for a consignment sale on the bull deal, I guess I'm a firm believer in, standard terms of the American Angus Association, and I guess what are they on a bull? I'm not the guy to answer that question, but I'm sure they do have some standard terms. I guess for me, as long as they pass the semen check and they're good to go, when they leave my hands and they go to your house, that'd be your responsibility.
Reed?
Kind of the same thing there. I mean, It all, I think, depends on you as the seller, what you want to stand behind, what do you believe in, how much do you believe in your progeny or your product is kind of how far you want to stand behind them. We can't all afford to stand behind them for many years, but being able to kind of provide that to help build that customer relationship is kind of where we stand of try to provide some type of satisfactory afterwards.
So Jennifer, do you think we should have one set standard on the bull guarantee for the consignment sale, or do you think it would be up to the individual breeder?
I think it has to be the group of consigners that get together and make that decision. There will be certain bull sales that needs to happen in, and then there will be certain bull sales maybe that are more, I don't know if you got show efforts, whatnot. I think that has to be an individual decision. The bull guarantee, we've all got customers we don't want anymore, like it or not. I mean, some guy who takes home a $3,500 bull and abuses him and says, I ran him with 45 cows and he only bred 20. And my response to that guy is, thank God he bred 20, is he's still alive. So, once again, it goes to the relationship. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. I'm a firm believer in the bull guarantee for at least a season, because I think to get our commercial guys in here to buy, they need to buy with confidence. Whether they know you're not, they need to buy with confidence that bull's going to be good.
You bet. You bet. Teela, how would you feel about that?
I think that our Angus Association has a pretty standard basis there for bulls, and I think consignment auctions should follow that, because then you have the support of the Angus Association behind you. If there was a bad situation, you have the Angus Association supporting you. If you go off and make these random consignment auction type guarantees, I think you're going to get in trouble with it. That would be my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. I think that's a really good discussion point so that each of you made. Does anybody else have any questions for us? This one to you, Mom.
Sure. So say I entered an animal in a consignment sale in April. What are some of the things I need to do over the next 2 months to kind of take it from being in the pasture to being ready in April? And also, is a clean animal important?
A clean animal is important. We can't bring them in and look like they should have went to the auction barn, because that's where our sometimes our calls, or not on older animals, but your calls go to the auction barn. We don't want these cattle to look like call cattle. There again, it's a fashion show, whether we want to call it that or not. It is, our cattle need to look good. We're making a presentation to people, and as we make this presentation to people, we want them to look good. So clean. They need to be clean. When you're starting from ground zero, you should have started before 2 months, but when you get to that 2 month mark, you got to be saying, okay, I got 60 days. I'm targeting 60 days. You're targeting that animal for a certain thing, whether you're showing, whether you're feeding out fat cattle, no matter what, you're targeting that animal for a certain point. So if it's a consignment sale, you're targeting for that. So you go 2 months before the sale. If that animal's just looking a little bit thinner, say it's an animal in April, you said in April, so say you got a April yearling that's going to be coming into that yearling grow, right about April, you better be feeding that grow, because that animal's going to come into that grow, and she might look really good right now, but by the time you get to the sale, she's going to be all gangly. So you've got to have a little bit of extra on it, because you're traveling with them, you're changing their environment, they're in a cold sale barn, there's so many things that go along with hauling them to a consignment auction that you got to kind of have that extra at home done, because it pulls it off their back, and they just don't look as good, and they don't feel good. They don't feel good at the sale, so you want to have your homework done before you go to the sale.
I think that's great. And as we get ready to end things up, I think that's a wonderful question to tie this together. And I think we'll just let each of you touch on that. We're 60 days out for an April sale. What's the best, some things that you would be doing to get those animals ready?
First of all, I'd start planning for next year, though. You're behind, like Teela said, you're behind this year. Start next year, too, though. Know that you're going to have 60 days to get this one ready, but let's take 365 days to get the next one ready. And get yourself in shape for that. And know what you're after. make your calls, get your cattle looking like they're supposed to do, but contact your customers. If you've got something really good worth showing, it's okay to brag on your cattle. It's so hard for most cattle producers to brag on their cattle. Guys, it's all right. Y'all got good cattle. And it's okay to tell the world.
That's wonderful. Reed, what would you be doing 60 days in advance?
Yeah, I kind of piggybacking off both of them a little bit there, but yeah, just condition, kind of getting them ready that way. Clean, presentable is also the biggest thing, because as seed stock producers, we kind of are a value-added product over your commercial guy, and that's one of the biggest things that stands you apart is the presentation of your cattle, and being able to get them there is really the push. And 60 days out is short timing, but it is possible to try to get extra condition on them and try to get them clean and as most presentable as you can.
You know, Cash, I'm going to add just a little bit to yours, and you've got 60 days to get some ready for a consignment sale, but I want you to touch on how important it is to have those cattle clip dried as well.
Yeah, so this is the perfect question for me, because we got a sale coming up here on April 4th. I started 60 days, or will be 60 days from the sale there. As soon as we got home from Fort Worth, I got those cattle that we've had out on the creek feeder, getting fed the hot feed, trying to get them in the right body condition. Man, we got those things in, got them broke right away, got them gentle. And then this last week here, we started clipping these fall borns. I will say that you can't just clip these fall borns one time and think that you're going to be home free and got them where they need to be. It's going to take a couple times going over them. And then here in a few weeks, we're going to take pictures on them cattle, pictures and videos. And then I'll tell you what, as soon as we get those pictures and videos done, I'm going to turn them cattle out for a week and just let them be cattle. Give them a break, let them chub up, let them go be cows for a little while before we get them back in and get them back ready for the sale. That's kind of my 60-day outlook plan for our sale coming up.
Well, guys, I want to say thanks to each and every one of you for coming today and taking time away to be here and go over this panel. I think we had a great discussion here for the last few minutes, and appreciate each and every one of you that are here in the crowd for coming out, and thank you all very much. And we will be having the annual meeting here in just a few moments. So thanks each and every one.